Imagine waking up one day with the powers of a god, only to discover that the actual gods have come to kill you. Billy Batson finally has everything he ever wanted: a real family, incredible powers, and the chance to protect the people he loves. But just when life starts feeling normal, three ancient daughters of Atlas arrive on Earth with one mission: reclaim the magic they believe was stolen from them, even if it means destroying the entire world. What begins as another superhero adventure quickly turns into Billy's toughest battle yet, where losing his powers might be the least of his worries. On the day he turned 18, Billy Batson still felt like a kid in a lot of ways. An impulsive foster kid who can suddenly shout one word and turn into a muscle-bound superhero who thinks fart jokes are peak comedy. That duality is the engine of Shazam. Fury of the gods, Billy, who becomes Shazam, is still trying to figure out who he wants to be when he's not blasting bad guys with lightning or accidentally trashing an appliance aisle. He's got a found family, the Vasquez-Azam siblings and his best friend Freddy, and the movie keeps circling back to the idea that being a hero is as much about family as it is about superpowers. We open with the aftermath of the first movie's changes. The 6 foster siblings all have Shazam powers, so the mansion is basically summer camp with super strength and weird costumes. Billy is more confident, but also more reckless. He's dating, in that sweet, awkward way he does, and trying to balance his superhero life with being a normal kid. That normal kid life never really settles, though, because Fury of the Gods immediately reminds you, the mythic world you messed with the first time has consequences. The real trouble shows up when 3 daughters of Atlas come to reclaim what they believe the world owes them. They're charismatic, dangerous, and very sure of their family honor. They want the power that their father lost, and they think the quickest way to get it is to take back what the wizard entrusted to the Shazams. The conflict here isn't just punch-a-batty. It's an argument between humans and gods about stewardship, theft, and ancient promises. That raises the stakes beyond a single isolated villain. This is a family-level existential threat. The Daughters of Atlas come in with a couple of smart moves. They don't just start a bar fight. They use cunning and magic to isolate the family and hit them where it hurts: their powers. The Shazam clan gets fractured in a way that forces every foster kid to grow fast. Someone loses their power, someone else ends up separated, and Billy has to confront what being powerless actually means. It's a neat reversal. After the first movie's origin high, here the heroes must reckon with the loss of their identity anchors and decide whether family is their power or the lightning-spewing word that turns them into muscle. Freddy is still the heart and the comic timing of the group. He's the one who tries to be the planner, the one with the gadget vibes, but he also has very human vulnerabilities: jealousy, the pressure to be seen as a leader, the fear of losing Billy to the myth of power. Across the film, you see Freddy's apprenticeship into emotional maturity. He learns leadership isn't just about strategy, it's about protecting the people who matter, even if that means stepping back sometimes. That growth pays off at a few crucial moments, when quick thinking matters more than throwing a bus. That theme plays well against the villain sisters who want to resurrect ancient power through domination. The movie constantly contrasts connection with conquest. The daughters aren't one-note antagonists. At least one of them has a frustrated, aching quality. She's tired of being the secondary figure in an old story about a father and a lost honor. Their leader is regal and calm, like someone who's been rehearsing the slow-burn takeover for a very long time. Another sister is more brash and temperamental, the sort who favors direct action. That variety makes their plan feel like an old-world chess match against the goofy, messy modern family that is the Shazams. Plot-wise, the family gets divided early on. The bad guys isolate members, steal certain magical artifacts, and in the process, they prove that the way to break a team is to take away their sense of self. Billy winds up without his powers at some points, which is good for character because it forces him to be brave without the convenient crutch of lightning. You see him try to be smart instead of just strong, and that's where the movie earns its heart. He makes mistakes, sure. He's still Billy, but the mistakes feel lived in rather than lazy screenwriting. The middle of the movie is where Fury of the Gods lets the characters breathe a little between set-piece battles. There are quiet scenes where the foster kids, human and superhero, sit around and argue like real siblings, complaining, teasing, trading barbs about who does the dishes. Those domestic slices are the connective tissue that makes the big action mean something. When a God-sized threat knocks a window out, you feel the danger because you care about the people it's threatening. There's also a subplot about legacy and myth. Some of the film's more interesting beats examine who gets to own a story. The Daughters of Atlas think they're correcting a wrong, but they also don't respect the human cost of their reclamation. The Shazam family, on the other hand, starts as stolen powers beneficiaries and becomes the stewards who choose to use it to protect an imperfect world. It's a classic moral tug-of-war, but the script leans into it in a way that keeps things personal instead of purely cosmic. As the conflict escalates, the movie fashions a couple of clever action sequences that hinge on character choices rather than CGI spectacle alone. There's one sequence where teamwork, the kind that only a group of semi-trained foster siblings could produce, becomes the real weapon. It's messy, funny, and effective, and it underscores the thesis that family, with all its flaws, is the truest superpower in the film. The fights themselves are comic booky, but with enough grounded stakes that they don't feel like filler. The daughters, understandably, up the ante. They're not just trying to take powers, they want to reshape the status quo. They use illusions and traps that force the Shazams to confront their worst fears about themselves. Those sequences are where the movie's visual imagination shines. Body swaps, power drains, and magic that plays with identity. At times, the pacing stumbles a bit under the weight of so many set pieces, but the emotional through line, Billy trying to be a man who can care for his chosen family, keeps things coherent. A turning point comes when the team realizes brute force won't win the day. They have to outthink the sisters. There's a moment where Freddy, the resident nerd hero, makes a plan that uses the family's mismatched strengths. The payoff is satisfying because the film earned it. Earlier jokes and small character beats find their use in the climax, so the big finish feels inevitable rather than arbitrary. Plus, they sneak in some of that goofy, childlike imagination that made the first film charming. The Shazams use adult bodies to enact teenage logic, and the contrast continues to be funny and surprisingly tender. One of the film's major wins is how it handles sacrifice without tipping into melodrama. Characters are willing to risk everything, yes, but the consequences are measured. The movie doesn't kill off a beloved character for cheap shock value. Instead, it emphasizes the cost of victory in emotional terms. People are changed by what happens, and those changes stick. Relationships are tested, apologies are earned, and a few quiet human moments at the end feel much louder because of everything that's gone before. Rachel Zegler's character, introduced as a complicated figure with ties to the gods, winds up embodying a bridge between ancient myth and modern empathy. Without spoiling particulars, she's used to complicate the daughter's moral certainty and to show how myths can be reinterpreted for people who actually have to live with the consequences. The film resists the easy turncoat for convenience trope and lets her arc evolve through choices that make sense for her character. Humor is still a through line. The movie never forgets that Billy's mouth and Freddy's impersonations are as important as any lightning bolt. Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, as the elder daughters, play their roles straight, which creates delightful comedic friction. The gods misreading contemporary culture is a running gag that never gets old. The human cast's snark and affection for each other keep the film light even when the stakes go mythic. By the time we get to the final act, the themes coalesce. Family is chosen, power is responsibility, and myths can be rewritten when people show mercy. The Shazam family, battered and humbled, chooses to protect rather than hoard, to share rather than reclaim with force. The daughters get a resolution that respects their point of view, but doesn't excuse their methods, and that makes the ending feel fair rather than contrived. The film closes on a hopeful note. There's a bittersweetness to the final scenes. People have learned, relationships have shifted, and the idea of home has been strengthened, not by polishing everything to perfection, but by accepting the cracks. Billy isn't suddenly wise, he's still him, but he's a better brother and a more thoughtful hero. Freddy is more solid, leadership-wise. The whole group is closer, which is the whole point. The family matters more than the lightning that temporarily powers them. Some parts of Fury of the Gods are a little messy, a couple of plot conveniences and an overstuffed third act, but the things it does well are memorable. Strong performances, sincere heart, and a consistent comic tone that balances wonder with warmth. The movie understands that a superhero film grounded in family needs to feel lived in, and it mostly pulls that off. If you came for big set pieces, you'll get them. But if you stay for the emotional through line, you'll leave satisfied that these characters earned their happy-ish ending. So in short, Billy and his found family face off against mythic daughters, determined to right an ancient wrong. Powers get stolen, loyalties are tested, and the kids have to be clever and brave in equal measure. There are laughs, a few tears, some spectacle, and a final message about the real power of chosen family. It's loud, sincere, and occasionally goofy. Exactly what you want when you watch a movie about grown men shouting the name of a wizard and trying to do the right thing. If you enjoy superhero films that remember to hug between the punches, this one lands a good, warm punch right to the chest.